Welcome to White Clover Sheep Farm in Rushville in Western New York. I'm often asked, how do you set up your electric fencing for rotational grazing purposes? What I have here is an example of how I do it. I have at the very far end, which will be visible in just a little while, a woven wire fence with an upper strand of electric wire. And I have on the opposite end, up there where the hedgerow is, the same. I do a line of electric nettings from one end to another, including a piece of hedgerow for shade purposes in the summer. I do somewhat parallel on the opposite side, on the far side, roughly depending on season, forage availability, and size of flock, roughly 70 to 200 yards on the other, to 200 yards parallel to the first line. Then I do cross sections. In the summer, when the grass is tall, I mow paths with the bush hog so that I have the lower string all the way to the ground. Otherwise, I encourage lambs to go underneath. B, that the grass does not shorten out the electricity by reaching the hot wires. And C, so that the sheep can see it. If the sheep push through high grass and don't see the fence, the last ones can possibly push the first ones into the fence, and there's a risk of somebody getting stuck in the fence. Usually I have these cross sections set up so that I have a daily grazing cell. I rotate once daily. When I want to rotate, I take out the cross section so that the sheep can go back to the shade and water and are not exposed all day to the sun. What I want to avoid is the so-called second bite or back grazing. What I do not want is that the second cell that you can see adjacent to this one, where the sheep are in, is too small. Then they would go back to the first cell, or whichever cell they grazed the previous day, and they would get the so-called second bite, which infringes on the regrowth quite dramatically. If I feel or see that I gave a cell that's too small, I just open up the next fence and give them the next grazing cell. Usually, because of my experience, I get it about right. A little back grazing wouldn't hurt, but significant back grazing does hurt. So you see here a cross section. You see there at a distance the next cross section. Then there's another one and another one and another one. So the same up there. I have about 3 more cells up there. So that would be a good week to 8-9 days of grazing, depending on where I am at the farm and how far across it reaches. Then, when this is all grazed, I leapfrog, so to speak. The far side of that fence stays, that whole line, and I put fencing parallel to that one, again about 70 to 200 yards parallel to that existing line, and make my cross sections, again including, since it is summer, section of hedgerow so that the sheep have shade, and I have the water and the free choice minerals or trace mineral salt, and this way the sheep can live happily ever after. Regarding the shade, I'm being asked often, do they need that? Well, for animal comfort they do. They may very well survive when it's 85, 90 degrees, but it's kind of like my straw hat. Do I really need it? No, I don't. Do I feel a whole lot more comfortable wearing that one when it's 90 degrees? Yes, I do. And I'm far more productive that way, and so are the sheep. And keep in mind, you are responsible for your sheep. That includes animal comfort. Animal comfort does not mean pampering the sheep. It means exactly that, making it comfortable for them. No unnecessary or undue stress. And P.S., you see here what goats doing, what goats do best, browsing. Weed control, hedgerow control, anything that's a little bit more coarse, that's what they want to eat. Even a goat has a purpose that way. Thank you for watching. White Clover Sheep Farm, home of grass-fed White Dorper sheep. No grain feeding needed, no shearing necessary. Those sheep shed their hair and wool out, just like a dog, a horse, or a goat would do.